Hi, it's Reggie James, Director of the Lone Star Chapter of Sierra Club. It's been a little while since I've had a chance to talk to you. Last month when we did my message to you, we were talking about a trip that we made to the lower Rio Grande Valley to object to the border wall going through a lot of sensitive areas. Just before we were going to release that, Hurricane Harvey hit. And it's been quite a mess. So we had an organizer in Houston who was able to see the devastation, just how horrible it was for people there during the flooding, and also saw the pollution that was happening with petrochemical industry, with refineries, venting, the smells that other people were experiencing, and there weren't environmental regulators there to monitor that. The monitors were shut down. So we were able to at least anecdotally see what was going on. The other advantage of that for us, although we're not a relief agency or a relief organization, we were able to see how people were affected on the ground, and we also have the ability to raise funds. So we made the decision to fundraise and to direct all of the money that we raised during the hurricane to people who needed it immediately on the ground. We raised over $170,000, which we have been giving out to people who were impacted by the storm, to organizations working in that area, and we hope this is going to help us build strong relationships into the future so we can turn around quickly to help people. A lot of work still needs to be done. We have a problem that's going to reoccur. We know because of climate change, all of the models pointed to the same thing, that these devastating storms are going to become more frequent and more ferocious. We're going to be seeing them happen over and over. We need to be prepared for them. Well, there were Superfund sites, lots of them in the area that were flooded. There were sewage treatment plants that were flooded. Just a toxic and pathogenic stew that people were exposed to. We also had plants that had to shut down and they vented to the atmosphere. We also had plants that had chemicals on storage that we didn't know about. So leading up to the storm, from the time of the election until the time of the storm, the federal and state regulators have been doing their best to try to reduce what they call a burden to industry. They wanted to try to roll back things like the chemical safety rule. They've wanted to roll back things like air pollution protections, water quality standards, all of those things to try to reduce the cost to industry that the public pays for, both in their regular life when they have to inhale fumes or because these things are contributing to climate change, or because there's reduced water quality, or because there's greater flooding hazards because no one's regulating development in these areas. But all of those things that they describe as burdens are actually protections for the public and the environment. And when we don't have strong protections in place that anticipate that we're going to have disasters, and we know we're going to, then we're going to have worse and worse tragedies. We'll be spending a lot more time focusing on the things that Harvey pointed out that could be made better, don't have to be made worse, and the agencies, both federal and state, have to be held accountable. The last thing that we're going to be doing a lot of is ensuring that the recovery funds are distributed equitably. And Sierra Club is using the same approach to fundraising and engagement and assistance to the most impacted communities in Florida and Puerto Rico. My heart absolutely goes out to people across the Caribbean who are still suffering from the aftermath. Even though the tragedy, the hurricanes, a tornado, none of those things discriminate about who they hit. But the aftermath of the tragedy does have a disproportionate impact on the people that don't have resources to rebuild their lives. So I'll come back and let you know how we're doing on this, and thank you for listening.